Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Danvat Pranam. Hare Krishna, Pawan Prabhuji, Dika Mataji, Krishna Prabhu, Kumar Prabhu, everybody who led the chanting. Start with Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, welcome everybody on this very, very auspicious and blissful appearance day of
Krishna, Krishna,
Balaram ji, Balaram, Purnima ki jai. Mataji, you are not on mute, Dika Mataji. Okay. Alright, so let's post the link here and we will continue with. Anybody would like to sing today? Balabhadra Stotra Kavach in the service of Sri Balaram ji. Let's share the link. Okay, I will go and recite then, and then we will read the translations. Okay, Shri Balabhadra Stotra Kavach by Srila Vyasadeva. Golokadhamadhipati Pareshwaraha Pareshu Mam Patu Pavitra Kirtanaha Bhumandalam Sarshapavadvilakshate Yanmudni Mam Patu Sa Bhumi Mandale Senasu Mam Rakshatu Sirapanir Yuddhe Sada Rakshatu Mam Halicha Durgeshu Chavyan Musali Sadamam Vaneshu Sankarshana Adi Devaha Kalinda Jave Gaharo Jaleshu Nilambaro Rakshatu Mam Sadagnau Vayavcharamo Matukhe Balascha Maharnave Nantava Pusadamam Shri Vasudevo Vatu Parvateshu Sahasra Shirsha Chamahavivade Rogeshu Mam Rakshaturohineyo Mam Kamapalo Vatu Vavepatsu Kamat Sada Rakshatu Dhenu Karihi Krodhat Sada Mam Dvida Prahari Lobhat Sada Rakshatu Balvalarir Mohat Sada Mam Kilamagadhari Prata Sada Rakshatu Vrishni Dhuryah Prani Sada Mam Mathura Purendra Madhyandini Gopasakha Prapatu Swarat Parani Vatumam Sadaiva Sayam Fanindro Vatumam Sadaiva Parat Parora Kshatumam Pradoshi Purne Nishithe Chaduranta Virya Pratyusha Kale Vatumam Sadaiva Vidikshu Mam Rakshaturevati Patir Dikshu Pralambariradho Yadudvaha Udvam Sadamam Balabhadrarat Tatha Samantad Baladeva Evahi Anta Sadavyat Purushattamo Bahir Nagendra Lilo Vatumam Mahabala Sadantaratma Chavasanhari Swayam Prapatu Purna Parameshwaro Mahan Devasurānām bhayanāshanam ca हुताशनं पापचयेन्दनानां विनाशनं वेग्नगतस्य वेद्धि सिद्धासनं वर्मवरं बलस्य हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. श्री बलभद्र स्तोत्र कवच की जय. श्री व्यासदेव की जय. जगतगुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. Okay, anybody would like to take up the service of reading the translations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I can.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
May Lord Balaram, who is the master of Goloka, who is the supreme controller of all controllers, and whose fame is spotless, protect me. May Lord Balaram, who on his head holds the earth as if it is, were a single mustard seed, protect me in this world. May Lord Balaram protect me when I am surrounded by many armies. May Lord Balaram, who holds a plough, always protect me in battle. May Lord Balaram, who holds a club, always protect me in many fortresses. May Lord Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, protect me in the forest. May Lord Balaram, who wears blue garments and who stopped the Yamuna, always protect me in fire. May Lord Balaram protect me in the wind. May Lord Balaram protect me in the sky. May Lord Balaram, who is Lord Ananta himself, always protect me in the great ocean. May Lord Balaram, who is Vasudev's son, protect me on mountains. May Lord Balaram, who has 1,000 heads, protect me in the great disputes. May Lord Balaram, who is Rohini's son, protect me from diseases. May Lord Balaram, who fulfills desires, protect me from catastrophes. May Lord Balaram, who is the enemy of Dhenukasura, always protect me from lust. May Lord Balaram, who killed Vividha, always protect me from anger. May Lord Balaram, who is the enemy of Bavala, always protect me from greed. May Lord Balaram, who is the enemy of Jarasandha, always protect me from illusion. May Lord Balaram, who is the best of Rishnis, always protect me at sunrise. May Lord Balaram, who is the king of Mathura city, always protect me in the morning. May Lord Balaram, who is the friend of Gopas, always protect me at midday. May Lord Balaram, who is supremely independent, always protect me in the afternoon. May Lord Balaram, who is the king of serpents, always protect me at sunset. May Lord Balaram, who is greater than the greatest, always protect me in the evening. May Lord Balaram, whose power is invincible, always protect me in the middle of night. May Lord Balaram always protect me at every sunrise. May Lord Balaram, who is the master of Revati, protect me from every direction. May Lord Balaram, who is the enemy of Pralambha, protect me from every direction. May Lord Balaram, who is the best of Yadavas, protect me from below. May Lord Balaram always protect me from above. May Lord Balaram protect me from near and far. May Lord Balaram protect me everywhere. May Lord Balaram, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, always protect me from within. May powerful Lord Balaram, who enjoys pastimes as the King of Serpents, protect me from without. May Lord Balaram, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supersoul residing in everyone's heart, always protect me. Please know that this culture of Lord Balaram is the best of armors. It destroys the fear of the demigods and demons. It is a blazing fire that burns up the fuel of hosts of sins. It is the death of a host of obstacles. It is the abode of spiritual perfection. Sri Lord Balaram ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Yes, when we read this translation, like I said, this is Kavacha Stotra, and of course those devotees who were there to welcome Lord Nrsimha, Mahavata Nrsimha yesterday, the movie, we saw how little Prahlad, 5-year-old boy, is protected. And as we were reading, may Lord Balaram protect me from fire, in wind, on mountains, in forest. We saw all of that, how Balaramji was protecting little Balaram, little Prahlad in all those situations. So similarly, may Lord Balaram protect us and protect our little creeper of bhakti, which is as small as little Prahlad in our hearts. And just like Balaramji tills the land with plow in his hand, वो हल चलाते हैं, तो हमारा भी हृदय, our hearts, which are like stones, hard like stones, Krishna doesn't come there, right? Krishna wants soft things like butter. So to make our heart soft like butter from the hardness like stones, we request Balaramji to plow our heart with the hull, with the plow that he brings, and then with that, our heart can become fertile, in which our bhakti lata bij, the creeper of devotional service, can grow. So let that be our prayer and meditation. And we saw yesterday in Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit how Prabhupada also as the Guru, as the representative of Adi Guru, he is so merciful and compassionate towards his disciples. He's giving them a dose of mercy in London. Now he's back in LA, Boston, and then LA, right? And he was seeing all the paraphernalia, like the deities in Boston Temple. And not just that, but he saw all the paraphernalia, right? Because every expansion, everything that we use in the service of the Lord is Balaramji. Actually, Balaramji expands. He is the Adi Guru, and he is also the Adi Das. He is the servant, the foremost servant of the Lord. And so anything and everything that we use in the service of the Lord is actually Balaramji. So Prabhupada was so lovingly happy and smiling when he saw everything was so nicely used in the Lord's service, even the arti plates, the brass paraphernalia. And he encouraged his disciples to clean them nicely, because while cleaning them, we are cleaning our own hearts, we are cleaning the hearts. He said, you're actually cleaning the hearts of the spiritual master, because again, when we see those plates are Balaramji, who is the Adi Guru, when we clean that, then we are actually cleaning the hearts of the Lord, hearts of Balaramji. And because Balaramji wants to use everything in the best way in the service of the Lord. So that was the mood yesterday, and also how nice it was that yesterday and today, as we have Balaramji's appearance day, yesterday Prabhupada actually already celebrated his Guru Maharaj's appearance day, right? So our Guru Maharajas are like the representatives, and they come to us to teach us what the Lord wants, how to serve the Lord. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur came yesterday as his appearance day. And now we are going to celebrate Balaram Purnima today. Hari Bol. Okay, so let's continue from here. Prabhupada is still in the Boston Temple. He's very happy that this whole temple has been purchased as the first property of ISKCON. All the other properties were rented or leased. So, okay, we'll continue from here. Anybody would like to read today? In the temple room. Okay, I'll continue then. In the temple room, Prabhupada showed Karandhara where to build 3 altars. He indicated the measurements and instructed that before each altar should be a pair of doors, and over them the symbols of Vishnu, a conch shell over the altar for Guru and Gauranga, a wheel and club over Radha and Krishna's altar in the center, and a lotus over Lord Jagannath's. The spiritual master's Vyasasana was to go at the opposite end of the temple, facing Radha and Krishna. The walls should be yellow, which Prabhupada said was in the mode of goodness. The ceiling should be covered with a canopy, and there should be chandeliers. Once the altars were completed, Prabhupada wanted to bring the deities, even though much of the renovation was yet unfinished. After constructing an umbrella-covered cart and decorating it with flowers, the devotees brought the deities in procession from the old temple on La Cienega Boulevard to their new home, Bhavananda. The first time he came into the temple room after his morning walk, he went to the Guru Gauranga altar and paid his obeisances. We all paid our obeisances. Then he stood up, and he went to Radha and Krishna, and then paid obeisances, and then to Jagannath, and we all followed. Then we walked back, and he sat on his Vyasasana, and he told us, now you line up facing each other from the Vyasasana to Radha and Krishna. Face each other. This way, that way. One way you look is Guru and the other way God. And then back and forth that way. Always leave this aisle, he said, so I can see. The deity was the king, Prabhupada said, and all the temple residents were his personal servants. The temple, therefore, should be like a palace. An elaborate temple was important for preaching. Prabhupada explained, because most people, especially Westerners, were not inclined to undergo any austerities for obtaining spiritual life. There was an Indian saying, no one listens to a poor man. Were the devotees to advertise classes on Bhakti Yoga in such and such empty field under a certain tree? Prabhupada said no one would come. But a clean, beautiful building with chandeliers and comfortable rooms would attract many people to visit and become purified. The temple was also for those who wanted to live there as Krishna conscious devotees. Devotees, Prabhupada said, should be willing to live and sleep anywhere. But as the loving and protecting father of his disciples, Prabhupada took great care to establish a large temple and an adequate dormitory facility. He was making a home for his family to see that his spiritual children had a place to live and practice their devotional service was just another aspect of his mission. A special feature of the new temple was Srila Prabhupada's garden. The devotees had excavated a large patch of concrete behind the temple, filled it in with earth, surrounded it with a cinder block wall, and planted a lawn with flower gardens all around. Karandhara. I had dug some beds along the inside perimeter and planted a plant here and plant there. But Prabhupada said, no, plant something everywhere. Everywhere there should be something growing. Everywhere there is a place, you plant something. Let there be growing everywhere. He wanted it overgrown like a jungle, a tropical area where plants just grow luxuriantly everywhere. Srila Prabhupada always enjoyed sitting in the garden in the evening with the fresh, cool evening air and the fragrance of the flowers. The topics of conversation in the garden were as varied as Srimad Bhagavatam, all different subjects. Sometimes there would be lively conversations with guests or devotees, and sometimes Prabhupada would spend the entire time just chanting, with very little conversation. Sometimes Prabhupada would just have somebody read from the Krishna book. Prabhupada said that his mother maintained a garden on the roof of their house when he was young, and that he would go up there in the evenings and play. He remembered that. He always remembered what he liked to do as a child. You would hear him reminisce with pleasure about it. Many times he would comment, my mother maintained a garden on the roof of our residence, and as a child I would go there in the evening and play. Now I also have such a nice place to come. Under Prabhupada's personal direction, the LA Center became a model for the rest of ISKCON. At the morning Bhagavatam class, for example, he had the devotees responsibly chant the Sanskrit mantras after him, and he asked that this become the standard program in all his temples. In May 1970, he wrote to each of his 26 temple presidents throughout North America and Europe, inviting them to visit him at Los Angeles. Now at the present moment, I am concentrating my energy in this Los Angeles center as ideal for all other centers in respect of deity worship, Aratik, Kirtan, and other necessary paraphernalia. As I have curtailed my moving program, I wish that you may come here at your convenience and stay here for a few days and see personally how things are going on. And by meeting with me personally for necessary instruction, I hope simultaneously in all centers the activities will be of the same standard. The temple presidents who visited Prabhupada, most of them young men in their 20s, came with practical as well as philosophical questions. They came with their notebooks, writing down everything from the temple schedule to color schemes, noting the tunes used in the kirtans, learning how to manage a Sankirtan party, and perhaps most important of all, they would note the things Prabhupada did and the words he spoke personally to them. The temple presidents would then return to their own centers in Berkeley or Hamburg or Toronto or Sydney, glowing with ecstasy and ready to implement dozens of new standards they had imbibed from Prabhupada at the Los Angeles World Headquarters. Although Prabhupada still spoke of expanding his movement more and more, he seemed content to stay in Los Angeles, reaching the rest of the world through his temple presidents, his Sankirtana parties, and his books. New plans were unfolding, however, and Prabhupada again spoke of a governing body, 12 hand-picked disciples to manage all of ISKCON's affairs. He also spoke of initiating more sannyasis and taking them with him to India to train as itinerant preachers. And to ensure that his books were regularly and properly printed, he wanted to form a special committee in charge of book publication. Sometimes managing his worldwide religious movement, sometimes leading the growing group of devotees in chanting Sanskrit mantras in the Los Angeles temple, and sometimes sitting alone and translating in the pre-dawn hours. Prabhupada lived happily in Los Angeles. One day, a record arrived from London. The London devotees, who with George Harrison's help had already produced an album, had now also released a new single, Govinda. The song consisted of verses Prabhupada had taught them from Brahma Samhita, each verse ending with the refrain, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Prabhupada asked that the record be played during the morning program in the temple. The next morning, after he had entered the temple room, bowed down before the deity and taken his seat on the Vyasasana to begin the class, the record began. Suddenly, Prabhupada became stunned with ecstasy. His body shivered and tears streamed from his eyes. The devotees, feeling a glimmer of their spiritual master's emotion, began to chant Hare Krishna as if chanting the japa. Moments seemed to pass slowly. Finally, Prabhupada spoke, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. He was again silent. Then he asked, Is everyone all right? The response was a huge roar, Jai Prabhupada, and he began the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vignena Bhujaya. No one can understand the mind of a Vaishnava. Only a pure devotee can understand another pure devotee perfectly. But by observing the main activities of Prabhupada's life, we can see that whatever he did was pure service to Lord Krishna and was a perfect example of how to surrender to Krishna. He taught by precept and by example, often encouraging, even praising his disciples. He always pushed them into more and more participation in the blissful Sankirtana movement of Lord Chaitanya. But he also exposed the faults of his disciples, and these faults were sometimes great and painful to see, both for him and for his disciples. One day, as Prabhupada came into his quarters at the Los Angeles temple, he saw that one of the devotees cleaning his room had placed his picture upside down. A simple mistake, but it indicated something wrong in the disciples' mentality. Every morning, the devotees sing prayers to the spiritual master, honoring him as the direct representative of God. How could any sincere disciple not notice that he is standing God's representative upside down? Then a more serious discrepancy. Prabhupada went to the temple, greeted the deities, and went to take Charanamrita, the scented water from the bathing of the deities. It was part of his daily schedule. After his morning walk, he would return to the temple and offer obeisances to the deities while the Govinda record was being played. A devotee would then offer him a few drops of Charanamrita in his right palm, and he would sip it. He had mentioned this item of devotional service in the Nectar of Devotion. Scented with perfumes and flowers, the water comes gliding down through his lotus feet and is collected and mixed with yogurt. In this way, this Charnamrit not only becomes very tastefully flavored but also has tremendous spiritual value. The devotees who come to visit and offer respects to the deity take 3 drops of Charnamrit very submissively and feel themselves happy in transcendental bliss. On this particular morning, however, as Srila Prabhupada took Charnamrit, he frowned. Someone had put salt in it. He walked the length of the temple room, took his seat on the Vyasasana, and before a room full of 100 devotees asked, Who has put salt in the Charnamrita? A young girl in a sari stood and with a nervous smile said she had done it. Why have you done it? Prabhupada asked gravely. I don't know, she giggled. Prabhupada turned to Gargamuni. Get someone responsible. Everyone present felt Prabhupada's anger. The unpleasant moment marred the pure temple atmosphere. A disciple worships Krishna by pleasing Krishna's representative, the spiritual master. Therefore, to displease the spiritual master was a spiritual disqualification. The spiritual master was not merely a principle, he was a person. Srila Prabhupada. When ISKCON Press in Boston misprinted Prabhupada's name on a new book, he became deeply disturbed. The small paperback chapter from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam bore his name on the cover as simply A.C. Bhaktivedanta. Omitted was the customary His Divine Grace, as well as Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada's name stood almost divested of spiritual significance. Another ISKCON press publication described Prabhupada as Acharya of ISKCON, although Prabhupada had repeatedly emphasized that he was the founder Acharya. There had been many Acharyas or spiritual masters, and there would be many more, but His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada was the sole founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. To make matters worse, when Prabhupada first opened the new Bhagavatam chapter, the binding cracked and the pages fell out. Prabhupada glowered. The devotees in Boston, hearing of Prabhupada's anger, knew at once that their mistake in misprinting Srila Prabhupada's name was a serious oversight. Minimizing the spiritual master's position was a grave offense, and they had even published the offense. The serious implications were difficult for the devotees to face, and they knew they would have to rectify their mentality before they could make spiritual progress. Prabhupada criticized the mentality behind these mistakes, and his criticisms were instructive to his disciples. Unless he instructed them about the absolute position of the spiritual master, how would they learn? At the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam class one morning, Prabhupada called on one of the women devotees, Nandarani. She stood respectfully. Do you chant 16 rounds every day? Well, I try to, Prabhupada. This is the problem, Prabhupada said, turning to the temple president. If Nandarani, one of the senior responsible women, wasn't chanting regularly, then certainly the new women under her weren't either. This was the manager's fault. Prabhupada had praised and encouraged his disciples for laboring hard to renovate the temple and for going out daily into the streets to chant and distribute magazines. But for a devotee to not chant the prescribed rounds was to neglect the most important instruction. What Nandarani hadn't said was that the temple authorities had told her that chanting all the 16 rounds wasn't necessary as long as she worked. They had told her this, even though Prabhupada clearly instructed his disciples at initiation to always chant at least 16 rounds daily. Then another incident. During the morning class, Prabhupada was discussing Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, an associate of Lord Chaitanya. Looking among the devotees, he asked, Who can tell me who is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? No one spoke. Prabhupada waited. None of you can tell me who is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? He asked. One girl raised her hand. She had read something about him. That was all. Aren't you ashamed? Prabhupada looked at the men. You should be the leaders. If the men cannot advance, then the women cannot advance. You must be Brahmanas. Then your wives will be Brahmanas. But if you are not Brahmanas, then what can they do? Without improving their chanting and without reading Krishna conscious literature, Prabhupada said they would never attain the purity necessary for preaching Lord Chaitanya's message. While the local anomalies were weighing heavily on Srila Prabhupada, he learned of strange things his disciples in India had written in their letters, and he became more disturbed. One letter to devotees in America reported that Prabhupada's god brothers in India objected to his title Prabhupada. According to them, only Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati should be called Prabhupada, and they referred to Prabhupada as Swami Maharaj. Prabhupada also learned that some of his disciples were saying he was not the only spiritual master. They were interested in reading Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's books, as if to discover some new teaching Prabhupada had not yet revealed. Prabhupada regarded these remarks as dangerous for ISKCON. Advancement in spiritual life was based on implicit faith in the spiritual master, and to Prabhupada, these new ideas indicated a relative conception as opposed to the absolute conception of the spiritual master. Such a conception could destroy all he had established. At least it could destroy the spiritual life of anyone who held it. Though sometimes ignorant, his disciples knew were not malicious. He knew were not malicious. Yet, these letters from India carried a spiritual disease transmitted by several of Prabhupada's godbrothers to his disciples there. Prabhupada had already been troubled when some of his godbrothers had refused to help him secure land in Mayapur, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. Although he had asked them to help his inexperienced disciples purchase land, they had not complied. In fact, some of them had worked against him. Prabhupada had written to one of his godbrothers, I am so sorry to learn that there is a sort of conspiracy by some of our godbrothers as not to give me a place at Mayapur. Prabhupada was sensitive to any threat to ISKCON. His accepting the name Prabhupada, his teaching that the disciple must approach the spiritual master as the direct representative of Krishna without attempting to jump over him to the previous spiritual masters, these things he had carefully explained to his disciples. But now a few irresponsibly spoken remarks in India were weakening the faith of some of his disciples. Perhaps this insidious contamination that was now spreading had precipitated the blunders at ISKCON Press and even the discrepancies in LA. Talks about the relative position of the spiritual master could only be the workings of Maya, the Lord's illusory energy. Maya was attempting to bewilder the devotees of ISKCON. That was her job, to lead the conditioned souls away from Krishna's service. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll stop here for today. Yes, so Maya Devi is also a very ardent and very devoted servant of the Lord. She is doing her service properly, right? That is her service, to take these tests of the devotees, right? Just like we go to school, we go to college, we just don't study and become professionals, become doctors, engineers, attorneys, etc. Right? We have to go through a process of tests, exams, examination. So Maya Devi, as the devoted servant of the Lord, takes these exams on behalf of the Lord. And if we have studied well, if we have practiced well, like Prabhupada said to Yamuna Mataji, practice what I have taught you. Today also, again, on this very, very auspicious day of Balaram Purnima, Adi Guru, I know this, what we read today was very, very heavy, but again, this is like direct instruction coming from Srila Prabhupada, from our Guru Parampara, all the way up to Adi Guru, Srila Balaramji. And these are the instructions of the Guru, that how we should follow every instruction with care and utmost attention. There is no room for negligence. There is no room for complacence. So the primary instruction given at the time of initiation is to chant our 16 rounds. That is the first thing that all of us have to do, and we have to do that sincerely, attentively. If we have to make spiritual advancement, our acharyas say, Prabhupada says, our Guru Parampara says that we have to do it in concentrated devotional service. Concentrated versus diluted. We know the difference. We all have studied in school. We have done science experiments. We know what means by diluted and what means by concentrated. Right? So it is not diluted service that we have to do, but concentrated service we have to do with full attention. Whatever service we are doing, we have to give it our full attention and care. And otherwise we don't, then we see, that's what Prabhupada is saying, that those exams of Maya Devi will fail us. But again, the positive thing is that this is a very, very merciful day of the appearance of Shri Balaramji, Balaram Purnima. Balaramji being the Adi Guru, like we said, he is very, very merciful. So we just have to pray. This is a very auspicious day. We pray because more merciful than Krishna himself is Balaramji. Why is that? And more merciful day actually than Janmashtami is Balaram Purnima. Because Balaramji, as we know, he is trying to give his heart and soul in the service of the Lord. As Lakshman, we saw how he served Lord Ram Bhagwan. He didn't sleep even a single night while they were in the forest. And any time, even as elder brother of Krishna, he wants to serve Krishna wholeheartedly. In all the different rasas he serves. So he is very compassionate. So our mood and prayer today will be easily heard and will be easily granted if we pray to Balaramji in that mood, saying that, oh Balaramji, I am trying my level best. I am trying to do my level best, but I have these anarthas in my heart. So you please eradicate those. And since he has the plow in his hand, he comes with that mood. This is what they say in Jagannath Ji, that more merciful than Jagannath is Baladev. Why is that? Because when we pray to him, saying that I have these anarthas, and since he wants to use everything in the best service of the Lord, he says, oh, somebody is trying to disturb service of my Krishna, let me come, let me bring my hull, and let him, and he comes and he eradicates all those anarthas. So he is so merciful. So we all have anarthas, at least I have all the anarthas and more. So our prayer should be to Balaramji that, oh Lord Balaram, please, you are so merciful, please remove all these anarthas from our heart so that we can sincerely and purely serve your Shri Krishna and Shri Radha. So with that mood and prayer, let's all pray to Lord Balaramji today. Shri Balaram Purnima Mahamotsav Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
I wish everybody happy Balaram Jayanti, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So I like the discipline of Prabhupada, how disciplined he was and gave instructions to everybody in case if he had not chastised or given the proper instructions then and there itself. So after 55 years, even from now also, we might have not followed. So that was the main thing that the spiritual master who guides all the disciples and the devotees. So we follow him even today to up to the mark. So in case in mathematics, if one formula, one thing gets wrong, the whole sum will become wrong. So, in the same way, Prabhupada, he instructed his disciples so nicely, though they were not at all aware of all our culture and our principles and all those things. But Prabhupada gave such good instructions and corrected them then and there itself. Otherwise, it is not at all possible to be so disciplined, so neat, and so clean, and that is why it is carried out in all the 800 temples so so nicely, Prabhuji. So with this one, I really felt this is very very important in all aspects.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, very nice. You saw like how
Thank
they
you.
mentioned they all came with those notebooks and they were writing down everything, all the tunes to use, what standards to use in deity worship, right? As temple presidents, they went back and they established that in all of their temples. And yes, ISKCON is known for its standards, right? For its high standards, exemplary standards of deity worship. Everything that we do, from kirtana to prasadam to deity worship, just the high standards that ISKCON follows. And yeah, that is all due to what Prabhupada took the time and attention to so beautifully explain to his disciples, who have so wonderfully followed Prabhupada's instructions, so that we are able to see, even though physically we didn't see Prabhupada, but we're able to see Prabhupada through his disciples of who he was, what he stood for. Yes, thank you, Mataji. Okay, and it's 6:38, so we'll pause here. Again, once, hope everybody has a wonderful Balaram Purnima. And if you can, that we generally fast until noon, and after noon we can have prasadam. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Balaram Purnima Mahamotsav ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari
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 Bol.
Bol. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Have a great. Prabhuji, is it grains today or without grains, Prabhuji?
After fasting we can have grains, Mataji, and after
Okay.
noon we can have,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.